I'm going to show you how to safely use the shear. In this case, we almost always call it a stomp shear because you're going to use this to have the shear cut through your metal. There are also table shears and other shears that we have in the studio that you can cut your metal with. So I have a piece of metal ready to cut. This one is actually labeled, but if it isn't, we always have a metal gauge plate sitting here so that we can check. And whenever I put it in, I'm looking for the little slits in the gauge plate, and I can see that it says 18 gauge. So 18 gauge copper. In our studio, whenever you look at the shear, you can see the blade that's coming down. It's closer on this side, and it's farther away on that side. So with thin metal, it's a good idea to use this side. Anything that gets thicker, you start to kind of move across to the other side of the shear. It does depend on how the blade was put in. So our particular one, it goes down and then up like that. So it's a shear that's coming down like this. We have reminders that say don't get your hands anywhere back here. I have a coat or a pillow or something that can catch the metal, but I do want to make sure that I keep my hands away. Okay, so whenever you're looking at the shear, I'm going to show you metal coming in here. So you can see the metal coming in. The area where the metal disappears is where the shear is. So the shear is on this side, so you can see it there. Whenever you mark your piece, you want your mark to just kind of fall right off the end of the table. So I can also use the rulers that are attached to the shear. So if I want to cut a 3-inch piece, I can line up to that 3 inches. I like to keep my fingers on the metal until I can get the teeth to set down. And these can cause, in some ways, more injury. We're not going to put our hands back there ever, or underneath to catch it, especially because if it's small, you could still get a hold of the blade. But also realize this is a big piece of steel that's coming down to hold your metal, and your body weight is pushing it down. So you would go, I'll show from another angle as well, you just go up with both feet and then just put your weight down. And then that's it. Be careful whenever you get underneath the shear to get your cut off metal. So this piece should be nice and 3 inches. And then I've got this other piece, oops, this one's 3 inches. So got this other piece ready to go. So I'm going to cut this piece of metal. We do have a measuring device on the side that you can use, but for the most part I almost always use my Sharpie marker and my ruler. And so this particular piece is 134 millimeters long. I use metrics a lot for stuff like this because it's a lot easier to divide. So I'm gonna mark off 67 millimeters and make sure that you measure it from both sides, 67 millimeters. And then I'm gonna set up in the same way. I'm gonna put the work where those lines are all the way off, just off the edge of the table, and I look straight over the top and straight over the top of both of those points. That's the easiest way to make sure that it's straight, just in case this straight edge could have come off of alignment a little bit. I do have the very tips of my fingers holding the metal until this clamps down. So I always go up, I'm right-handed, right-footed, so I always go up with my left foot, and then I'm going to put the rest, my other foot up, and then I'm just going to kind of like deaden my weight, just push straight down. And then it's a really tightly loaded spring, which is why we have to usually use 2 feet, but make sure you let it up really slow. If you have any previous knee injuries or anything like that, this is really high for your knee to be, so just ask for assistance if you need somebody to help you. If you weigh less than like 125 pounds, you're going to need somebody else to come and help you cut. And so you get your weight up first and then ask them to step down second. All of your body weight forward. Make sure that your fingers are never anywhere near our holding fingers, and then never put your hands back here. When you go to pick up your metal, obviously be really careful because this is a big old chunk of steel, so you don't want to bump your head. And then that's it. So nice and simple. Anything that gets smaller than this that you can't hold easily, I can show you another way that we use this Stomp Shear with having like a little additional metal act as the finger guard, or we have a table shear in the other room that we can use for some smaller cuts as well. That's it.